I've learned what it takes to go from scratch to over 1 million users with nothing apart from a computer and an internet connection. A few years ago, I started a company together with my brother Dom. Today, it's grown into one of the world's biggest coding apps, and people fly from all over the world to participate in our in-person events where we routinely give away hundreds of thousands in prize money. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 9 key steps that we use to go from 0 all the way up to 1 million users. So if you're serious about growing something big, then you're going to want to pay attention to what I have in these notes right here. Stick around to the end of the video. Step number 1, start small. There's this Chinese proverb which says that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that is exactly right. Because what gets you to 1 user is not the same as what gets you to 5 users. What gets you to 10 users isn't the same as what gets you to 100 users or 1,000 users. When Dom and I first started EasyA, we didn't start with 1 million users. We started with literally 0. And to get our first users, we got our family. Then we got our friends and our family friends. And that took us to about 50 users. But we just had to start small. Step number 2 is do the hard work. It's so tempting to look for shortcuts, and everybody does it. It's why those videos on YouTube about how to make $10,000 in 10 minutes or how to go instantly viral do so well. We all just want to take the shortcut in life. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not here to lie and tell you that these 9 steps are going to be easy. You honestly just have to put in the hard yardage. I'll give you an example. When my brother Dom and I were first starting EasyA, we didn't have much, but what we did have was our bicycles and enough money to print off about 10,000 flyers. So that's what we did. We printed off those flyers, and every day after work, which meant pretty much at like midnight or 1 a.m., we'd get on our bikes and we'd start pedaling and flyering around town. Soon enough, we were flyering like 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers away in order to get those users. And don't forget, we started EasyA in London. And if you know London weather, you'll know that in the winter months, that was absolutely miserable. And I can definitely laugh at it looking back, but honestly, that was such a hard time for us, but we managed to get through it, and we managed to get those users through just putting in the hard work. Step number 3 is constantly update your strategy. If my brother and I had tried to get 1 million users by just doing more flyering, do you really think that we would have been able to reach 1 million users? I don't think so, unless we had very, very fast bikes. So to get 1 million users, what we had to do was update our strategy. And today we have a huge set of channels to get more users. We have our TikTok, our Instagram, our Twitter, and of course tons of viral loops in the EasyA app that get people sharing it. Step number 4 is to think outside the box. There's this saying that those who know don't tell, and those who don't know tell. The fact is that the growth hacks that you read online or that you see on social media aren't going to work. Because the ones that are actually working, chances are people aren't sharing them. But not just that, it's that if they have genuinely shared them, then other people will be using them so much that they won't work anymore, right? The hacks that everybody uses aren't hacks anymore. To get to 1 million users, we had to use so many growth hacks, and honestly, we had to let our imaginations run wild. I had this crazy thought, what if we put a maths game in the EasyA app, and I challenged people on TikTok to try and beat me at maths? That way we target the type of people that we wanted, which was super smart people who were interested in science and maths and technology, and then we get them downloading the EasyA app, and then they stick around and they'd find out what it was about. Anyway, ended up starting these TikTok lives and got tens of thousands of downloads literally within minutes, just because people were watching the live and they wanted to try and beat me, a Cambridge first class grad, at maths. Step number 5 is make something people want. And it sounds super obvious, but none of the previous steps are going to work unless you make something people want. You might have an app that's downloaded by thousands of people or even tens of thousands of people, but long term, people aren't going to stick around and they're not going to share it with their friends unless it's something that actually provides value and improves something in their lives. And I know that it's not necessarily going to be music to your ears. Everybody wants to just launch their product and everybody uses it and it's instantly a hit. But with EasyA, we also had to do this. We had to go through the same process. We had to iterate. And to get to where we are today, we have made thousands and thousands of updates to the EasyA app over the years. Step number 6 is have a mission. You will be pivoting a lot and you will be iterating on the product a lot. For us with EasyA, it was to democratize education. And that meant that we had a touchstone that we could refer back to every time that we were making a change. We were thinking, will this help us to further democratize education? If it wasn't going to be a good pivot. If it was, then yeah, let's try it out. Maybe it doesn't work, but it gets us one step closer to figuring out, will this actually work? In the words of Jeff Bezos, be stubborn on the vision, but flexible on the details. Step number 7 is tell your story. Why are you actually doing this? So many people start their pitches and start their businesses with just like, I'm doing this and I'm building this app.
Hi, my name's Lindsay Lorraine, and I'm from Parker, Colorado. I am the founder of EasyA.
I'm out.
Well, why? What makes it special? What makes it special is your story. What school did you go to? When did you grow up? People want to know about you as a person. I'll give you an example of the difference between the two. I'm Phil and I'm building a coding app. It allows people to learn how to code. Well, that doesn't really explain much, right? And it doesn't really leave much for you to get excited about. Compare that to this. I'm Phil. I was one of the youngest people ever to pass the New York bar, came top of my year at Cambridge University, and I left my job at one of the highest paying law firms in the world to start this app. Notice how I haven't even talked about what I'm building? I just mentioned app at the end, but already you're hooked. You're like, why did this guy leave his high-paying job to start this app? Why did he put that all behind? Think about it sort of like the Nike ads, right? They don't really talk about the features of the shoe. They talk about what you can be. They talk about the story. And that's what gets you excited. That's why you buy Nike. Telling your story is honestly such a big hack that I almost want to gatekeep it. I'm not, because I selfishly want people coming to our hackathons to use this tip. Tell your story. Step number 8 is use technology and be a tech startup. This is honestly very, very opinionated, so if you really want, feel free to disregard it. But in my opinion, AI, blockchain, these technologies are growing so fast, and in 10 years, every single thing in the world is going to use either one or both of these technologies. So if you aren't building as part of one of them, your growth is inevitably going to be a lot slower. Because these industries are growing so fast, you're able to grow at their pace too, just by virtue of being in that industry. It's sort of like being in a great economy. If you're fortunate enough to live in an economy that's growing super fast, let's say 10% per year, you're naturally going to have pretty much 10% more opportunities than anybody else compared to, let's say, an economy with 0% growth. Step number 9 is just be nice. You don't get anywhere by being mean. The world doesn't work like that, thankfully. And you don't win by beating your competition either, by being cutthroat and be like, let's find our competition, let's kill them. Yeah, that's not the way that these things work. Thankfully, again. The way that you win is by transcending the competition. It's by being so fundamentally different, by being so innovative, that what you create is just totally different. You go beyond the competition. Looking back, the work that we put in was almost unimaginable. The sleep deprivation, the no weekends off, the cycling in the rain to put up those flyers. It was all so hard. It takes an intense amount of time, effort, and dedication. But if you follow these steps, you'll build something bigger than you can even imagine. But before I end this video, there's one other thing that I wanted to say. If you did get this far, you're already ahead of 99% of people. Most people will skip past. Most people will only have watched the first step and they'll have clicked off. Only the top 1% of people who really want to make it. And I've got a message for you. It's a message that I would have wanted someone to tell me when I was first starting off. And it's that it is really difficult. I was in your shoes not so long ago, just a couple of years ago, after I've left my job in law, and things were really difficult. I told you, when we hit rock bottom, and I was in your shoes. I was watching YouTube videos about how to make it big, how to build a startup, how to build a product, how to generate revenue, and honestly, none of it actually helped me. I found that I was just contemplating it, watching all these videos, hopeful that one of them would suddenly give me the magic secret, the secret to it all. But none of them did. I had to figure it out on my own. And so that's why I put together this video, because these are honestly the steps that will help you get there. But I can guarantee you that there is light at the end of the tunnel. That no matter how hard you're struggling now, remember, if I can do it, you can too. And look at how many there are. Look at how big the world is. The world is not so small. You can get 1 million users. And although it might be hard, it's important sometimes just get outside. Look at how big the world is. Trust me, you'll do it.